Hey everybody, this is Gabe Hernandez with Comical Opinions. I've been tracking small publishers that have been making announcements lately about their pushes into the YA graphic novel market. And there's another announcement today. This one is an article from The Beat, as you can see up on the screen. But this video is a little different. I'm not talking about the announcement from the publisher, which in this case is Oni-Lion Forge, but what I noticed when I was looking through the types of books that they were putting out and where the books where they were coming out, I noticed a trend that was developing between this one and Scout and a few others that indicate that they're moving towards a specific distributor that I think kind of spells out a future push for that distributor and what that could mean for the larger comics industry as a whole. But there's some nuance there. So I wanted to kind of talk through that a little bit, and we can take a look and see if maybe I'm pulling an X-Files and connecting the dots that don't make any sense, or if we're actually going somewhere. So let's take a look. According to The Beat, Oni-Lion Forge announces a spring 2021 YA middle grade graphic novel. Now, YA and middle grade are between, say, 6 and 14 roughly, so that it sort of depends on where you want to go. And they talked a little bit about some of the previous announcements, like IDW, Maverick, which is the YA imprint for Mad Cave Studios, and a few others. And I said, well, let me take a look at these books and get a little bit of information about what's going on here. So the first one here is Lemonade Code, and it's a very much focused on the YA kids market. And I said, well, let me take a look. And really the only thing I can find is this page right here, where we're talking about Lemonade Code by Jared Pratt. And it gives you a little information about the book. It's very much kids that one of them is a super genius, and that's okay. That's fine. That's kind of in that realm. Then you have Quincredible, which is by Rodney Barnes, Selena Espiritu, pardon me if I'm saying that wrong, Kelly Fitzpatrick, and a few others. And I said, let me go see what I can find. And this is the best I could find as far as what's going on here about the book. This is woke comics at its very best. Take that for what you will. And then we come back to the article, Camp Whatever, which is sort of like a summer camp with a little bit of a mystery feel. And I did some digging to try and find out about that title, and I find this. It's perfect for fans of Lumberjanes and Brain Camp. There's more than mosquitoes at Camp Whatever, and Willow will need to face truths about herself and her family as the summer camp dread goes head-to-head with the supernatural. I don't know if you picked up on it, but maybe you can see the pattern here. All three of these titles are published through the distributor known as Simon & Schuster. And you say, well, that's no big deal. That's no big deal. It is not a big deal in and of itself. But if you go back and you take a look at the announcement from a few days ago from Scout Comics, Simon & Schuster. If you go back and look a little bit about what's going on, here's that Oni Press statement again, exclusive deals, Simon & Schuster. This is 2017, so they've been doing some work with them for a while. And then if I look over at Simon & Schuster's website as far as other comic book providers or licensees, or where those properties are coming from, here's one for Boom Studios. They have a whole selection of books from Boom through Simon & Schuster. And you say, well, okay, so what does that mean? That doesn't necessarily mean anything. They do stuff through all the different publishers all the time. And the answer is not really. There's really just a limited number of big name distributor type publishers that would publish this type of stuff. Simon & Schuster is one of them. And you say, okay, well, that just means that they're gunning for Simon & Schuster. Oh, well, that's fine. The only problem is, if you look, Simon & Schuster is owned by Viacom CBS. And Viacom CBS has already stated that they are in the market to sell. Where is it? Right here. The Hollywood studio has already put two other non-core assets up for sale on the combined Viacom and CBS entity. Book publisher Simon & Schuster and BlackRock, the longtime headquarters of CBS in Manhattan. So in other words, Simon & Schuster is owned by Viacom CBS. They're looking to sell it because Viacom CBS doesn't want to be in the publishing market. And so if Simon & Schuster is picking up deals from smaller comics publishers to publish comic books and graphic novels, especially focused in the YA market, but they're on the chopping block to be sold by their parent companies, Viacom CBS, then where do they go from there? Why would they do that? Why would a company why would smaller publishers like Scout, like Oni-Lion Forge, Like there's some previous history there with IDW and all these other companies. Why would they start to do business and put their YA graphic novel push, which is the big moneymaker right now in the comics industry? Why would they put that in the hands of Simon and Schuster, which is on the chopping block to be sold? I think what's happening here is Simon and Schuster is making cut rate deals with these smaller publisher houses so that they can build up their market value, so that they can make themselves look more attractive for a prospective customer. Hey, Second Street Marvel, I'm just going to say hi out of that. And so the reason they're doing that is because they want to make themselves look more attractive as a potential competitor to Scholastic. Scholastic is a big 800-pound gorilla in the room. They're the one, that's the company that dominates the YA graphic novel market. And so the question is, if they're buying up these, or they're establishing these little publishing house deals with Scout and Oni Press and IDW, and Boom was the other one as well, they're trying to position themselves as a direct competitor to Scholastic to make themselves more attractive for a major publisher. And so the question is, who is the major publisher that might be interested in purchasing Simon & Schuster? The answer is Penguin Random House. They're owned by Bertelstrom, if I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, Bertelsmann, sorry. Germany's Bertelsmann is interested in buying Simon & Schuster. Germany's Bertelsmann is the parent company that owns Penguin Random House. And so they're looking to pick up potentially Simon & Schuster so that they can add that YA graphic novel inventory as a direct competitor to Scholastic. And so what that does is that if they pick that up and they combine Simon & Schuster with Penguin Random House, now you've got maybe not an 800-pound gorilla in the room, but you've got one that's pretty close, or at least one that's getting into that range. And then it establishes them as having a history of publishing YA graphic novels for comic book publishers with their existing IPs. And so you say, well, you know, Scholastic's got all these different channels. Well, yeah, Random House is I believe, the number one and number two book publisher on the planet. And so that positions them very well. And so then you have the secondary market. Is, well, if they're doing YA graphic novels, it doesn't necessarily mean they're doing little individual monthly comics. The answer is maybe not today, but they could do it. The reason they do that is because if we go back to, let's see, this Bleeding Cool article, a lot of the comic publishers that are out there today, for example, already have some kind of account with Simon & Schuster. Let's see, that would include Boom, Humanoids, Legendary, Rebellion, and now they're adding to that list. Image seems to be, according to Bleeding Cool, the only one that's still almost exclusively with Diamond. But if you look at the other ones, like Marvel and DC, Dark Horse, Dynamite, etc., they're all with a company called Ingram. Now, Ingram is also another publishing company, but they also are very heavy into digital distribution. So if you look at it from that standpoint, and I believe we have an article here, yep, Penguin Random House has a relationship with digital distribution with Ingram. And so what that allows them to do is, and I know, follow me here, I'm sort of collecting, you know, if you can imagine in the background, I've got the cork board with all the pictures and the yarn that's tying up all the strings and bringing it all together. What I think is going to happen, if I had to put on my magic forecasting hat, and this is just a prediction, it may not come true, and it might be just a little bit of dream casting, so to speak. But what's happening is Simon & Schuster is establishing cut rate deals with all these little publishing houses to publish YA graphic novels for their comic imprints. Simon & Schuster then is lining themselves up to look like a heavy-hitting YA graphic novel company that competes with Scholastic. It makes them more attractive for sale from their current owner, Viacom CBS. Penguin Random House will pick up Simon & Schuster and add that whole inventory to their own, making them a lot bigger and more dominant in the publishing space on the planet. And now they have that, and they will pick up with that their existing digital distribution relationship with Ingram. And so follow me on this. So now if you have Marvel and DC and possibly Image, if they ever decide to not go exclusive with Diamond Distribution, they can start farming out their IPs to Penguin Random House with an established YA graphic novel market and distribution model, and a digital model through Ingram, so that he can do the monthly one shots, the digital first stuff through Ingram as part of the relationship with Penguin Random House, and all the trade paperbacks, the original graphic novels, and the YA graphic novels all go through Penguin Random House. That makes a lot of sense because Penguin Random House is again one of the biggest publishing companies on the planet. They have built-in editorial staff. They have built-in distribution networks for printing, delivery, mechanisms for distributing books into all kinds of bookstores throughout not just the country but in the world. Especially because they're owned by a German conglomerate that gives them all the international contacts as well. So I'm connecting a lot of dots here. But what I think what's eventually going to happen is the big player for comic publishing and distribution is going to be Penguin Random House, and they're going to do digital distribution through their partnership with Ingram. That's also sets them up not only to be a competitor to Scholastic, which is the big YA graphic novel monster in the room, but the Ingram model also allows them to compete directly with Comixology from owned by Amazon. So you get that whole thing all in one package, all through one relationship. And so that makes them potentially very attractive for somebody like a Marvel owned by Disney or a DC owned by Time Warner. So could be the case, could be not the case, but I thought it was interesting where I'm starting to connect the dots. I'm seeing where these little companies are making their moves, but they're all sort of trending in particular directions. And I think might be something we need to really keep an eye on. So if we're ever talking about the big two, Marvel and DC, stopping their in-house printing production and then farming out their IPs, up until this point, it's always been somebody like, do they do it through Boom? Do they do it through IDW or, Dynamite or I think Black Mask might be another one that came up, but who knows? And what I'm now seeing based upon these trends is it might not be any of them. They might go a more traditional publishing house route. And that traditional publishing house route, if sales go through, if acquisitions and mergers get approved and everything else, might eventually be Penguin Random House with a digital distribution model in their partnership with Ingram. Penguin Random House would be a direct competitor to Scholastic for all the YA graphic novel stuff, and they could also do the distribution for all the monthly comics, either in print through their traditional print distribution model and digital through their partnership with Ingram, which would be a direct competitor to Amazon Comixology. It would be a direct competitor to Amazon Comixology. So connecting a lot of dots. It's kind of dry stuff, but again, one of the things I wanted to do with this channel is I wanted to take a look at what's going on in the industry, just looking at what's moving, what's shaking, where things are landing out. And I hope that was something that might be interesting, something for you to keep an eye on. Watch the news. If you start to see either an announcement that Penguin Random House has purchased Simon & Schuster, and or you see a larger company, a larger publisher like Image, signed a YA graphic novel agreement with Simon & Schuster, that would be a big tell. That would be something interesting. So that's my opinion for today. Hopefully it was something interesting. It's a shorter video today, but I'm connecting a lot of dots here. So hopefully it wasn't too dry, too much of a bunny trail, but hopefully this was interesting for you. So if you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe down at the bottom of the video. Your interaction really helps this channel grow. It really helps keep me going, gives me something to think about, especially if you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm fine with either way, depending on how you like the video. And please give me comments. Comments are good. They help me direct the flow of the channel and let me know what you're interested in. And if you haven't already, please go over to my Substack. If I can type the name in correctly, I should have done this before the video. Sorry about that. And I've got a new article up that I just put up on Sunday talking about Batman, the psychology and the pathos, and why I think things like he should never kill or never get married, because ostensibly that would ruin the character. And I don't just say that, I actually try and back it up with some psychological precedent, particularly with the 5 stages of grief. So I think it'd be interesting. A lot of people have told me that they found it kind of in-depth and not too dry, but hopefully that it gives you something to think about and something to consider. And if I've gotten enough positive feedback on that, so I think the next one was going to talk a little bit about Superman from a different perspective, particularly where I think, and don't get too crazy on me, but I think where Zack Snyder and his cronies with Man of Steel, I think they kind of missed the mark with the characterization of Superman. And I can talk a little bit about that, and I think where they could have course corrected or where they just got that focus wrong. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Hey, Second Street Marvel, I see you in the chat. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Gabe Hernandez for Comical Opinions, and you have a great day.